Hey guys, Dantix here, back with the Wonderlands guide video. Today talking about the frostwilder, a combination between the Brr-zerker and the Spore Warden. This build has you focus on everything frost damage, but mostly around the Spore Warden's action skill, Blizzard, to tear through ranks of enemies, with each skill extending the duration or cooling down the skill faster. You'll naturally have insane frost damage increases and a high chance of freezing enemies, but when you activate your action skill, you'll enrage and become even more powerful. It's not uncommon to see the entire battlefield frozen. This build can manage Chaos rank 20 as it both dishes out the pain, has great crowd control to save your soul bonuses, and takes the punishment. It's able to keep your ability going indefinitely while freezing everything around you easily while you shoot uninterrupted because of it. You'll understand more when I explain the combo. So in this video, I'll run through Blizzard, what skills and attributes you'll be investing into, and what items to look for. Let's get right into it. The primary class I chose was the Brr-zerker, but you can pick the Spore Warden as well. The only difference is which you want to keep if you decide to respec, as you can't re-pick your primary. I went with the Brr-zerker as my primary as I enjoy multi-classing with the Graveborn, but I'll talk about that build in another video. The Brr-zerker brings with it a powerful class feat called Rage of the Ancients. Every time you activate your action skill, you'll get bonus frost damage for an enraged duration. Depending on what skill you pick up, you can get other bonuses as well. But the major one is that extra frost damage. It says 10% there, but realistically, it's much higher as it scales with your gear. At endgame, expect to be around 50% bonus frost damage, which is insane. The Spore Warden brings with it a mushroom companion, which is nice to distract enemies and revive you, but we won't be focusing on this stinky but fun guy at all. Maybe in another build. The main reason we want to invest at all in Spore Warden is for the ability Blizzard and their skills that focus around abilities. Blizzard creates 3 frost cyclones that deal frost damage over time. You can see where I'm going with this. You'd think the cyclones would spin about randomly like they do in Diablo 2, but actually they home in on enemies, even the ones flying up high, so it's incredibly potent. This is an extremely powerful action skill dealing insane damage, each cyclone dealing around the same damage as Barrage, the other Spore Warden's ability, each second for 16 seconds. The trade-off is it has a long cooldown, one of the longest in the game, but combining the Spore Warden with the Brr-zerker makes it so a 16-second duration and a 35-second cooldown is just a suggestion. Moving over to skills, your key skill is Blood of the Fallen, and this is why it's a suggestion. It makes it so when you kill an enemy, the cooldown of your action skill is reduced by 20%. Yes, 20%. So if you have 35 seconds left, you'll knock off 7 seconds. More importantly, each kill will extend the duration by 20%, so if you kill fast enough, you could theoretically keep the action skill going as long as there are enemies to kill. This is far too powerful a skill to ignore in this build. Another powerful skill is over in the Spore Warden tree called Wrath of Nature. For 3 points, it makes it so an enemy hit by your action skill takes 54% increased damage from all sources, including that action skill. This is absolutely bonkers ridiculous with Blizzard and even Barrage. However, probably intentionally, you don't have enough points to get both Blood of the Fallen and Wrath of Nature, so you will need to make a choice. Blood or Wrath. In this build, I'll be focusing on Blood of the Fallen, but if you want to focus on Wrath of Nature, stop at the 3rd tier of Brr-zerker instead of continuing, the 3rd tier being Cold Snap. Alright, so what action skills do you pick up first? Starting with the Brr-zerker, max out Ancestral Frost. This will increase your frost damage by 20%. No bells and whistles, it just makes your build better. This is on a melee build, so you don't need Savagery. Unyielding seems like a good tank skill, but in practice is quite underwhelming. Max out Icebreaker as it increases your damage, scaling the closer they are to being frozen up to 40% to frozen targets. This becomes a massive boost considering your gun, spell, and ability damage will all be frost. While moving down the tree, you want to dump points into the old ways. The closer the enemy is, the more damage you'll do and the less you'll take, up to 30% for both. Because it provides a bit of survivability as well, it serves as a good way to move down the tree as you level. You'll only need 2 points into it to move into Cold Snap, which you'll max out. It increases your movement speed by 9% and your frozen efficiency by 24%, doubling when you're enraged. I currently have gear that pumps that up to 96% frost efficiency when enraged, which I don't need to tell you is absolutely insane considering you do bonus damage to frozen things. Everything gets frozen, so everything will take that 40% bonus damage from Icebreaker. From here, I put a point into unarmored defense as your net survivability goes up. By sacrificing half of your ward, you can get a 150% boost to your health based on the reserved ward amount. This works well with anything that boosts your total ward size. You can skip this skill if you rather put an extra point into Blood Frenzy, which, when you kill something, restores 9% of your maximum health and extends your enrage duration by 3 seconds once it's maxed. Then I prefer to dump 1 point into here to move into the next tier and pick up Ancient Fury, which gives a 20% maximum health boost and a 25% area damage increase. It just so happens that Blizzard is area damage, so that flat increase is huge. From here we have a few extra points we need to invest into in order to get Blood of the Fallen, so we put one into Relentless Rage, which makes it so our Save the Soul duration is extended as we damage enemies, letting us survive those particularly hard chaos levels. Then we finish up the old ways and put the last point into Blood Frenzy, finally being able to drop that 1 point into Blood of the Fallen. We stay away from Instinct as we'll be primarily using a weapon that doesn't need to reload, staying away from Blast Chill as we won't be using melee damage, and we have the option of picking up Iron Squall if we want that 30% increased fire rate when enraged. And in this case, I chose a bit of tank over it. The choice is yours though. Now we move over to the Spore Warden tree, and this one is straightforward. Max out Bounty of the Hunt, so every time we kill, our action skill cooldown rate is increased by 20%. This stacks with Blood of the Fallen, so Blizzard will spend very little time actually down. Then 5 points into Affinity. If flat increases ability damage by 35%, my gear adds an extra point, increasing that damage to 42%. Finally, I like to get Medicinal Mushroom. It makes it so your farty boy will attempt to revive you when you're downed. This means if you're solo, at the very least, he'll extend how long you stay down. In the best case though, he'll revive you from an impossible to kill situation. So with Relentless Rage and Medicinal Mushroom, you'll be extremely hard to keep down. At this point, you will have 7 points remaining. Eagle Eye is a point dump option as it gives you a flat 20% gun damage increase and 25% gun handling, which works well with a gun we'll be aiming to use, pun intended. You can also dump a point into Iron Squall for the fire rate. I personally maxed out Blood Frenzy and Spore Cloud, which makes my Mushroom Taunt, but it's up to you. In terms of attributes, the only core is Attunement. You want to max this out first. Then you have a choice. Constitution works incredibly well with your skills like Unarmored Defense, as getting 2 ward gets reduced to 1 and gives back 3 HP, which doubles your tank. Ancient Fury also increases your health by a percentage, and Blood Frenzy restores that percentage. You'll eventually want to respec to at least get a bit of Constitution for your higher chaos levels. Maxing out Constitution for me took it from around 7k HP to around 11k. I personally opted to max out Dexterity, then dump the remainder into Strength, as critting often with your action skill still stacks up. However, I wouldn't blame you if you went to Wisdom to take advantage of all that chill damage. The only attribute that you don't need is Intelligence, which feels weird saying after my last build video was a spell focused one. In terms of background, you almost always want to be going for Village Idiot. I've said this before, but an 8 increase to Strength is worth sacrificing 3 Intelligence, which you won't be using. That's a net 5 point gain. You can also pick up Recovering Inventory Hoarder, but I don't really like the loss to Dexterity and Constitution for an only 5% skill cooldown. Don't convince yourself ever that Rogue Alchemist is a good idea for this build. It's too much of a health sacrifice. Now, when it comes to gear, you want to choose Spore Warden Power over Brr-zerker Power. Brr-zerker Power increases your Enrage Frost bonus damage, which is great, but the Spore Warden Power increases your Blizzard damage, which is better in most cases. If you can find gear that boosts your core skills, you're gravy. Core skills being Ancestral Frost, Icebreaker, Cold Snap, Ancient Fury, Blood of the Fallen, Bounty of the Hunt, and Affinity. In terms of ward, you want the biggest flat capacity. The higher the capacity, the higher the HP bonus from Unarmored Defense. The rest of your gear you'll be looking for is ability and frost damage increases. Either one will do. You'll also be looking for enchantments that boost your ability's effectiveness or provide bonuses when you cast your ability. I found a ring that increases effects by 100% when the ward is not full, and it never is thanks to Unarmored Defense. You want a powerful ice-based spell you don't have to spend too long casting. In this case, a good Ice Calamity or Triggering Twister. The main item you want to be looking for is a pistol called Liquid Cooling of Impatience. It's a skulldugger weapon, so it doesn't need to be reloaded. Instead, it has an overheat meter. However, this legendary actually cools down your overheat meter when you shoot frozen enemies, so yeah, you can do some insane things. Here's me jumping in to help a mate with a boss. So keep an eye out for powerful enchants, or if you have the moons, re-roll until you get one. An example is when an action skill is active, increase elemental damage by X amount. Since it lasts for a long time, this will drastically increase your DPS more than upgrading an item. I don't need to say focus on frost damage, but make sure you have another elemental type in backup for those immune to frost. Also, if you've deviated from the build for a more Wrath of Nature focus, you'll need to stack ability cooldown more than damage, so keep that in mind. How do you play the Frostwilder? Simply open with your Blizzard and spell on the high priority target and let them do their thing. Then shoot the minions in order to keep the Blizzard going, making sure to melee a frozen enemy when it's in your face and headshot things that aren't. You want to be up in enemies' faces though, as you get bonuses for doing so and kills buff you up. This is not a class combo that wants to sit back. Keep moving, and when your Blizzard is down, pick off the little guys. Don't spend too much time on high priority targets without your Blizzard raging around them. You should be melting everything. After freezing them solid, of course, melting them with ice sounds odd, but you'll be metaphorically doing that even without a large gear investment. And there you have it, the Frostwilder. This is the best combination of abilities that I can see at this moment, but as the meta changes and the game gets updated, new combinations and ways to play will show up. But if you're looking for some wild frosty damage without sacrificing tank, you watched the right guide. Let me know below if this class interests you or what you're planning on running. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for everything Wonderlands. Ciao friends.